collaboration with the Cyprus Mail, this is the Cyprus News Digest with Rosie Charalambous.
Coming up this week, the European Business Awards promote European businesses across the globe.
Not just in Europe, by the way. We had 750,000 viewers last year of the videos. That's an awful lot of viewers. And 175,000 of those people voted. And they were from all over the world.
How important is Europe to British businesses?
The reasons why the UK has done so well in the last few years has been partly to do with its positioning in Europe and its very specific type of positioning in Europe.
Expats are being urged to register to vote in the upcoming referendum on a possible Brexit.
Mr Cameron's made clear that the EU referendum, which will happen by the end of next year, is a very important decision, perhaps the most important decision this generation will take.
And creative writers can hone their skills at workshops in Nicosia.
Kind of an introduction to journalism taught by veteran journalist Stefanos Evagidou called The Journalist's Eye. And this is going to be a hands-on course geared at how to become a citizen reporter.
The national winners of the European Business Awards 2016 gathered last week at the British High Commissioner's residence in Nicosia to receive their awards. The Master of Ceremonies, Rob Coles, from lead sponsor RSM, spoke to the gathering.
To give you an idea of the scale now of the European Business Awards, if we aggregate the revenue of all of the contestants, it is now just over €1 trillion. Now, the bit it says here next is supposed to make you feel good. Personally, I don't think it will. It says here, that is 50 times the size of the Cypriot economy. I don't know why that should make you feel good, but apparently it should. My normal joke is that that's about the size of the Spanish economy before the crisis. And slightly more now, but there we are. And those €1 trillion then generated 60 billion of net revenue last year, and literally employs tens of millions of people. So if you imagine yourself as part of a competition that spans an economy the size of Spain, then that's what you're in right now. And when we go back to, as we will, to the early days when the European final had 12 people in it. Just look at this room alone, just for Cyprus. So we've come a long way, and you are part of, as my French chairman said last week, not just part of a competition, but increasingly part of a community, and a community that does business with itself. We have many, many winners and champions who now do business with each other. We have two that have bought each other, if that's possible, and so be aware that is the scale of the thing you're in. This year, we were, to get to this point, we've talked to and researched 32,000 companies. The judges, the Paul Souls, have then had to fill that out. Those companies that have come from all EU member states, every single one, plus Turkey, Switzerland, Serbia, Norway, and the former Yugoslav Republic of Macedonia. So everywhere you look in Europe, there are European Business Awards companies, one way or another. All of those thousands had to be whittled down and whittled down and whittled down and whittled down. Some were told, no, you can't come in at all, because the benchmark is high. And it finally got whittled down to 678 national champions, of which you are the Cypriot representatives in amongst that community. Now that's a heck of a whittling down, to be honest. And so to get this far is a real mark of respect and validation for your business, but as the High Commissioner said also, respect and validation for the business community here as well. It's a very vibrant, very successful community. And of course now the fun begins, because we have the video bit. All of our national champions, all across, all 678 have produced a video. You can go online and see them. And it's worth giving you some background as to why we, or Adrian and his team, put this bit into play. There really are three reasons underpinning the video. Firstly, it attracts a vote, which currently is about 70,000 individual votes have been cast across those 678 videos so far, and we have another 3 or 4 weeks to go. And that is a community, as I said earlier, you'll never reach yourselves. So part of it is to give your businesses visibility, and we want to enable you to reach that commercial audience. So that's one of the reasons you do the videos. Not just in Europe, by the way. We had 750,000 viewers last year of the videos. That's an awful lot of viewers. And 175,000 of those people voted. And they were from all over the world. They were from North America, South America, Africa, Middle East, Asia, and Europe. So they were literally from everywhere. So it's reach that you just can't get. Companies have reported orders as a result of that. And as I say, in one case, a merger. So the public vote process at the moment for you is really important then, because the more people you can generate to watch your video, or indeed just to watch the videos generally, the more they will tell other people and the more they will watch. So get your vote out. That's one of the most important things you can do next. And talk to customers, talk to suppliers, talk to people you want as customers in the future. Because what a wonderful way of getting them to come and look at what you do, the story you tell, and the vision you have of the future of your business. So people who want to be your future customers, you should be saying to them now, have a look at this video and vote, even better. But the third use of the video is that it will be used to whittle down the 678 into a final 100 Ruban d'Honneur winners across Europe. And from those final 100 Ruban d'Honneur winners emerge through a process of face-to-face grilling. And it really is grilling, because I'm a judge on one or two of the things, and we like to grill. Yes, we do. We're cooks. And so we like to grill you well and truly. Think Dragon's Den, multiply that a bit, and it's really nice. So, and from that 100 emerge the 10 winners. So the video has multiple roles as far as you're concerned, for commercial reach for your business, for enhancing your vote, but also as a judging tool for the final 100 businesses. So do focus on it. The public vote, just to come back to that, has two stages. The first stage is to find a national public champion for each country. So one of you, or one of the firms in this room, will end up as the Cypriot public champion by vote, for sure. One of you will. So your ability to get your vote out as a small, medium-sized firm is actually considerably greater than it is for large corporate firms, believe it or not. Make sure you're tweeting, Facebooking, LinkedIn, and anything else you can think of, really. Mother, father, dog, cat, brother, sister, someone you wish was your brother or sister. Anything you can think of, get the vote. Those public champions, those national public champions, will then go into the second round of voting, which will then produce a European public champion by vote. So again, that could be the national champion from here. And it's not necessarily the case that it's the winner from the big country that gets it either. It's the one that gets the vote out and indeed has the most compelling story to tell. So you have every reason to want to participate in that, and we hope that it also contributes to the commercial visibility of your business and your ideas in the process.
Rob Coles outlining the advantages of the European Business Awards at the prize-giving ceremony last week for the Cypriot national winners.
Keep up to date with events in Cyprus and around the world with the Cyprus News Digest.
Adrian Tripp is the Chief Executive of the European Business Awards, and I asked him how important they were for businesses in Cyprus.
I think throughout Europe there's 33 countries that the awards now have an individual competition in, so I think for Cyprus companies to have visibility across Europe in a competition now that has over €1 trillion worth of combined revenue of the participants is huge. So, and I think we've heard from many of the companies the visibility and the exposure that they get from the awards and the endorsement actually has helped many of them find new customers, set up joint ventures, and some even raise finance, so it's a good thing.
And where's the British connection in this? I mean, was it a British idea?
Actually, I'm South African, so I came to the UK and Europe as an economic migrant before the end of apartheid. So when I got here, Europe was such a brilliant opportunity, and there was so much opportunity for me, and it was lucky. It made our family. So 8 years ago, when we were looking at the changes that were starting to take place in Europe, you realised that unless we created a really strong business community, then none of us stood a chance, because that's what pays for the fabric of our society. So by doing this, it's our ability to put something back and to try and leave the place better than we found it.
Yeah, but the British High Commission is very much involved, certainly here in Cyprus, and I'm presuming that in other countries it's also very much a player?
Yes, of course. So the UKTI, the British Government Import and Export Trade Agency, is very committed to this programme, because obviously they want to show and help UK companies export, but they also want to show the potential of the UK as a destination for companies to expand into, but also they want to show that UK is committed to European business.
Let's talk a little about European business after any upcoming referendum.
Yeah.
How do you think, in the event of a Brexit, business will fare in the UK?
We did a survey 6 months ago and asked European business leaders running the most successful companies in Europe what they thought, and 90% of them thought the UK should definitely not exit, and 70% of them, over 70% of them, thought it would damage the UK business, and actually some European companies, European Union countries too. So we definitely, when you think about it, the UK is a good participant in Europe, and actually it's very, very good for UK business.
Yes, but what if, has anybody done a study to see what effect it's likely to have? I mean, without those facts and figures, it might be very difficult for some people to make their minds up.
We've actually been asking, it's been one of the points that we've said, we need an independent study across all of the political parties done very robustly to prove what the likely impacts actually are. I think the volume and the scale of trying to look at that data is so huge that no one's actually been able to do it yet, and people just take a position on one particular side. Our view is, when you look at how the UK has benefited from it, many of the reasons why the UK has done so well in the last few years has been partly to do with its positioning in Europe, and its very specific type of positioning in Europe.
In terms of business?
Yeah, so the UK, not in the Euro, but actually part of the European Union, has been a staging post for many, many other multinational companies from all over Europe. Our financial services sector in London actually is, again, a bridging for most of the major financial institutions in the world and most European major organisations through the UK. So, and when you think about just the trade, most trade, for 48% of all UK trade is actually with Europe still. So, and if you leave, there must be barriers that would come up, because if the UK was on the other side, they would erect barriers to people trying to trade with them. So I can't see it's positive. It's not definitive, but most of the obvious things look like it would be a really bad idea to do that. So.
Let's end on a brighter note and talk again about the Cyprus winners. Tell us a little bit, if you will, about the range, if you like, of businesses that have been recognised this year.
So it's very interesting actually to look at it. So you've got some fairly small businesses that are 6-8 people still, and then you've got some very large companies that are trading out here and part of a multinational, and they range from very dynamic technology businesses to financial services organisations to very industrial and agricultural type of businesses. So it's quite interesting to see that diversity in Cyprus coming out and being recognised in the competition.
Adrian Tripp, Chief Executive of the European Business Awards.
You can subscribe to the Cyprus News Digest on iTunes for free and get the program downloaded to your phone or tablet so you can listen anytime, anywhere.
If you follow the news, you'll be well aware that David Cameron has been in Brussels trying to renegotiate some of the terms of Britain's membership of the European Union. It's all ahead of a promised referendum at which UK citizens will be eligible to vote. And that includes many overseas voters, which is why the Overseas Voter Registration Day took place yesterday. Joining us to tell us who exactly can vote on the referendum is the British High Commissioner to Nicosia, Rick Todd. Rick, first of all, there are a lot of overseas voters, aren't there? I mean, I read somewhere that all told abroad is something between 4.5 and 5.5 million.
That's right. The British have historically been a nation that likes to travel and live abroad. We're a very cosmopolitan country, so unsurprisingly a lot of Britons live abroad. We think there are about 5 million Britons living abroad, and many of those, significant number certainly, are eligible to vote in UK elections. And what's interesting is that the last UK general election, only about 100,000 people, expats, actually voted. So what we're doing, we're working with the Electoral Commission in order to explain to people, as is standard practice, and we've done at previous elections and referendums, who is able to vote using the global FCO network. And this is a global campaign, I should stress, in order to explain to people how they can register to vote, in order to exercise their rights, and also, because I think we all agree, Mr Cameron's made clear that the EU referendum, which will happen by the end of next year, is an important, very important decision, perhaps the most important decision this generation will take.
So who can vote?
Well, the rules for the referendum are the same as the rules for UK parliamentary elections, which is if you have been registered in a UK constituency for less than 15 years, then you are eligible to carry on voting. Now, a number of people don't know about this, and so what we're doing with the Electoral Commission is trying to publicise, give some information about this. Essentially, if you go onto www.uk.gov/register to vote, you can, in a simple 5-minute process, enable yourself to do that. And once you've done that, you can either vote by post, or you can vote by proxy, or if you're in the UK on polling day, you can go in person to your polling booth in the normal way.
In your normal constituency?
Yes.
Right, now you said it was people who had been registered within the last 15 years. So we're talking here more about expatriates who come and go, not people who've been living abroad for any great length of time.
Well, the rules here are the same ones which have applied in the past. I think there are among the 5 million Britons who are currently abroad, there will be all sorts of cases. Some have lived many years abroad in one country. Others have travelled more, and indeed others spend short periods of time in the UK and short periods abroad. So I think there's a whole range of people here. What we're trying to do is, as I said, working with the Electoral Commission, is we're trying to draw people's attention to what their rights are, to those who can vote, how they go about doing it. And in addition to the information here on the radio, we're also be talking to other media. People can go to our UK and Cyprus a website, and we'll also, as members of the High Commission and me personally, will be going around Cyprus meeting people and some expat groups in order to explain exactly what it is people are able to do.
Now, the online thing you said takes 5 minutes, so that's pretty easy to do. But for people who aren't online, presumably it's rather more lengthy form filling. And is there a deadline?
There isn't a specific deadline, because this is a process which anyone can do at any time. I think the reason why the Electoral Commission has launched the campaign is because they want to make sure that as many people as possible who are eligible to vote are able to do so, given that, as the government has made clear, it's for the British people to decide whether the UK remains or leaves the EU. And it's right that voters, be they in the UK or abroad, are made aware of how to register for what will be a once-in-a-generation choice.
And you also mentioned voting by proxy or by post. So as and when the date is set for the referendum, does that mean that all registered voters get something in the post to fill in? How does that work?
Well, it depends what choice you make when you register to vote. Whether you decide to vote by proxy or by post, or in person, I think depends on your own personal circumstances. If you are, for example, in a country where there is an effective postal system to the UK, you might decide to do it by post. If you have any concerns about that, you might prefer to vote by proxy. But individuals have a choice when they register to vote.
And in the event of postal votes and all the embassies and high commissions abroad, there's no sort of post box in those venues for people to do their voting and then get them sent to England en masse, as it were?
No, there's no provision for posts around the world being used for this. But as I've said, as it's standard practice, and as the FCO has done in previous elections and referendums, the government is supporting the Electoral Commission, who are the ones responsible for raising awareness of voting, through the Global Foreign Office Network. So it's an information campaign which we're doing with the Electoral Commission.
And have you any idea how many people in Cyprus should be looking at this possibility? I mean, there must be a huge number of expatriate Britons here.
We believe that there are 65,000, possibly more, British expats living in Cyprus. So I would encourage all of them to look at remind themselves what their personal circumstances are, whether they are registered to vote, and if so, where, and to go onto the website.
Which is, tell us again.
It's www.gov.uk/register to vote.
And I should add that the register to vote, last time I looked, had a dash in between those three words. But I'm sure if you Google it, it will come up. And if you want your say in the referendum on the possible Brexit, you know now what you have to do.
Listen online to the Cyprus News Digest on YouTube or at cyprusmail.libsyn.com. The latest program is uploaded every Friday, and if you missed one, you can catch up there.
Write CY is coming back. They had a pilot last year, and now a whole series of workshops are coming up in creative writing. Max Sheridan is the director. Max, who wants to do creative writing?
Well, we hope that we can interest young people and adults who have always wanted to write, but for some reason never had a place to kind of do it, and want to explore the process of writing in different forms, but never had the kind of a venue to approach writing.
They do say that everybody has a book in them, and the biggest problem seems to be actually putting it down on, well, now the laptop. It's hardly longhand writing anymore. But is that true?
I don't know. I think everybody can express themselves in writing. And I think maybe phrasing it as a book creates kind of a block. But everybody can write a poem, everybody can write a story, everybody can write a joke, talk about themselves in writing, I think, yeah.
And you've got a lot of different workshops for different styles of writing. Now, I think that's something that people who haven't ever sat down and tried to put, as it were, pen to paper, think about, because there are different approaches according to what you're writing, aren't there?
Absolutely. That's why we try to offer as many kind of genres or kind of avenues of expressing yourself in writing, from comic book writing, journalism, social media writing. Not all of it has to be creative, but you can also be creative on Facebook as well. So yeah, that was the idea. Poetry, short story, script writing. Script writing we have is a full class this time around. So people are just coming from all backgrounds to give it a shot. Yeah.
Tell us some of the writing that you've done, because you've been through different genres yourself, and each one, I suppose, brings something different for you as a writer.
Yeah, I started off writing comic novels, which are very difficult to sell, either on this side of the ocean or in the United States, where I come from. And then I got into this kind of new, relatively new indie pulp and noir scene, kind of transgressive crime. So that stuff is easier to sell, I found. And
easier to publish. The one thing that a lot of writers fall down on, if you like, is the fact that they really would like to get published. I mean, you're going to put all that work in, you want it to be out there, but it's not so easy, is it?
It's been a long process once you get into the kind of publishing short stories and stuff. Yeah, it's not easy. And if you don't have any background, it can take, years to figure out how to place your stuff.
And how do you place your stuff? Suppose you've written, I don't know, a short story or a children's story. Where would you start?
A children's story? I don't know. We could ask Melissa Heckers, who's teaching a workshop on the 13th on Saturday morning on children's book writing. A short story, you just kind of have to investigate, learn a little bit about the magazines, the publishers, what kind of stories they're looking for. You have to read the magazines, and slowly you kind of develop an awareness of what kind of places will most likely accept something that you've done. But it's not always, even then, the rejections pile up.
If you're hoping to make writing not necessarily your full-time living, but certainly something that contributes, do you end up sometimes penning things that are not really you because you know they will sell?
Well, if I could do that, yeah, I'd love to be able to do that. But you do that. I do that for particular kind of markets. But I always try to have, or I can't get rid of, I wish I could, but I can't get rid of the certain element that I guess that makes it my writing. I wish I could just write like, E.L. James?
So what makes a good writer?
Ooh, I don't know. For me, the writers that I like to read all have distinctive voices. Voice is really important for me. Plot, not so much.
And so all these workshops, and you'll tell us in a moment when they're taking place and how people can get involved. They are all, as we said, aimed at different styles. I mean, you've even got songwriting there.
That's a new one. Stavro approached me a few weeks ago. And, that's something that I hadn't really considered.
Isn't songwriting, if you're doing the writing, really poetry, and somebody else would come along with the musical knowledge to put the music
That's
to
exactly what kind of some of the projects that we're leaning towards, like with comic book writing. We have comic book writing, but we also need to kind of collaborate with artists. So we're going to be looking at collaborations between songwriters and musicians or composers, comic book writers and illustrators. And I think this is going to be a wonderful kind of expansion of the idea of kind of drawing different backgrounds together, artists and writers. And
so what actually is coming up with these workshops? When do they start?
So we've started some of the classes like book design and script writing, but we're going to have some other classes staggered throughout February and March, and two of them that I'm really keen on are one course in kind of an introduction to journalism taught by veteran journalist Stefanos Evripidou, called The Journalist Eye. And this is going to be a hands-on course geared at how to become a citizen reporter, because everybody can kind of report these days. And we have another one on social media writing taught by Marilena Zacheos, which should be really useful for a lot of people, how to craft better posts on Facebook, how to get more people to like their sites, their pages. We have those two coming up, and then we have a bunch of, and comic book writing with Antonis Bargili, which is starting again in mid-February. And we have, as I've said, I might have mentioned a children's book writing workshop and mindfulness workshop. These are coming up in February, February 13th for the children's book writing with Melissa Heckers. And the 27th of February, a mindfulness workshop with Arieta Bukurelu. Both of those classes will be in Greek, and we have one more with Nora Najarian, part 2 of her writing journey workshop in English.
So who can get involved, and how can they find out more?
Anyone can get involved, as long as you can hold a pen or type on a computer. You can get involved. The easiest way is to give us a call at 22105-099 or visit our spanking new bilingual English-Greek website at writety.com.
That's WRITECY.com. Max Sheridan, thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
And that about wraps up this edition of the Cyprus News Digest. Many thanks for your company. I hope you'll join me next week. Till we meet again, take care and God bless. Bye-bye now.